戦するからよく見ろ証明してあげるよ何度も失敗して気が落ちるけど次やる時はきっとうまくいくだろう繰り返しても諦めるのは早いぞ
And welcome to the greatest anime podcast of all time, the Anime Egotists. Please be sure to like, subscribe, comment, and all that other jazz. My name's Alex, and even though I want to do all the attacks I want to do in anime, I'm not sure I could pull them off properly.
They just backfire with me.
Yeah.
And I'm Richard.
That's right, and you guys have heard us talk about anime before, but a lot of the talks we have about anime are generally basically opinions that everybody shares.
Yeah, we've talked about pretty much our favorite animes, our ability. Have we talked about abilities?
Every now and then, yeah.
Yeah, and we've talked about the best episodes, and again, the best episodes are kind of a consensus amongst the community, pretty much.
Yeah, but today we want to get into things a little different. We want to talk about the things that people wouldn't necessarily agree with about. This is the stuff that we would post on Reddit and people would be like, what? That's how they feel? That's right, guys. These are our anime hot takes. Do you want to go over any criteria before we start for these?
There's pretty much none as far as I'm aware. If it's anime related and it's a hot take, we can count it. So it could be about an anime, it could be about a studio, it could be about a trope, you name it. I'm sure we've covered it here.
Yeah, and if you want to celebrate and talk about your anime hot takes besides just putting it in the comments like you should be doing, be sure to buy our anime hot takes / hot cakes shirt. Yeah, it's not the most clever design or pun, but it's just buy it, okay? You'll be supporting us along with our newest subscriber, Julio Matos or Matos. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. Thank you for the love. As always, we appreciate our subscribers. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you so much for subscribing. And if I remember correctly, we have a few more as well, but unfortunately your names are hidden right to us, so we're keeping an eye on it.
And if you ever need a shout out for subscribing, just put it in the comments and I will gladly say something about it. But anyways, how about you start us off with your first anime hot take?
All right, this one's pretty obvious, I think, for a lot of people, but Sakura isn't actually worthless.
Agreed 100%.
He is worthless in Naruto, at least through the Sasuke retrieval mission. There's nothing. She doesn't have her super strength. She's not a medical ninja at this point. She's mentioned wanting to do it at this point, but she has no training. She doesn't know how to do it. But once Shippuden comes around and she's got her monster strength and becomes a reliable healer, I mean, in that first arc in Shippuden, she saves Kankuro's life.
Yeah, that's very true. Not to mention, and my thing with me is always, I've joked about it, but I don't think Sakura's useless. I think she's annoying and they kind of befuddled her. They kind of messed up her character down the line, but I don't think she's useless. It's just compared to Sasuke, Naruto, and even Kakashi, she definitely is the weakest out of all of them.
That is true, but her role is more of support and sudden attack, so she fits her role really well towards the end of the series, especially.
Well, until the whole Naruto "I said I love you" thing. That was terrible. That's not a hot take. Everybody hates that. That was terrible.
Yeah, no, that is terrible.
Yeah, but I agree. Sakura had potential, and part of me even likes her. But yeah, I do, and she's not useless. But like I said, they messed her up down the line. It's funny that you say that about Sakura because I also have a hot take about Sakura.
Go right ahead.
Okay, so I'm a little bit of editorializing to start. The thing about Sakura is a lot of people felt like I said, that they messed up her character down the line, and I do agree. And a lot of people say they don't like Naruto and Hinata together, not because they don't like the characters, but just because it kind of comes out of nowhere. Like Naruto kind of just realizes at one point, oh dang, I like Hinata. But I don't hate Naruto and Hinata together. I hate Sakura and Sasuke together because, in my opinion, Sakura should have ended up with somebody else. Not Naruto, not Ino, for the weird amount of people who want that, and not Shino, the even more smaller group of people who want that. It's kind of weird. In my opinion, Sakura should have ended up with Rock Lee.
That's an interesting one.
Yeah,
Never really thought about it.
yeah, okay, so because to me, I saw this post about Naruto like finally becoming Hokage, being accepted by everybody, all this other stuff, and the post said something along the lines of course you're the hero now, and everybody loves you, but never forget about the person." And they were showing Hinata. Never forget about the person who stuck by you and was the person who supported you all the way. While basically being against the crowd. First of all, that doesn't just cover Hinata, that covers Choji, Shikamaru, Iruka. There's a handful of people who supported Naruto from the beginning, but to me, it would have been a far more powerful statement had Sakura learned that from Naruto. Like, you know, as much as as close as Naruto and I am, after what I pulled with him, I don't think it's going to work between us. I think that ship has sailed. No pun intended. And remember, Lee was they weren't on the same squad in the tuning exams, but Lee was willing to risk his life on a regular basis for her, and basically jeopardize his own life to save her. Not to mention, once they became friends down the line, Lee's behavior, admittedly in the beginning, was kind of creepy towards Sakura, but as they basically went on, his behavior got like a lot more normal. Like he was willing to accept the two of them as friends. So in my opinion, she could have been like, he's stuck by me the whole time, the absolute whole time, and they could have developed a dynamic together. They didn't necessarily have to be married at this point, like they could still be testing the waters, but in my opinion, it just would have made a far more powerful statement for Sakura, or even if she just ended up single throughout Boruto.
Okay, yeah, I can kind of agree. Yeah, because especially with Sasuke being gone a lot in the uh after Shippuden, there's not really time for a relationship to actually exist. So
Right. And it's Sasuke just doesn't seem like the relationship type to me. Sure, he has to rebuild more or less the Uchiha clan, but like I don't know. It felt kind of weird to me.
okay. So my next one is English dubs can be better than subs.
Okay.
There are a whole bunch of people out there who pretty much say that you have to watch the sub if you're going to watch a version. That really isn't the case. Especially nowadays, it's 90% of the time the voice actors who do the English dub are just as good as the voice actors who do the English subs, and sometimes they're even better. For the really long animes, the ones that have multiple seasons, 24 episode seasons, or don't really even have regular seasons, they just release episodes. It's a lot easier to follow when it's English dub. I mean, I think of like I personally prefer the English dub of My Hero Academia. Um, I've watched as well bits of Bleach. I really like the English dub a lot better. I've struggled to watch the first few episodes with the subbed, and I guess that might be more just because I've seen that series before as the English dub, and so that's what I stick with. But that's kind of my opinion on it. Is that especially the long ones, they work so much better with the dub.
Okay, I agree and disagree with this. I'm going to get the agreement part out of the way. Yes, because a lot of English voice actors are very talented when it goes to being dramatic, serious, or even hilarious. It's like, in particular, I think Soul Eater does a really good job, especially with its comedic moment. And just other types of anime, the classics we all know and love. Not to mention, it is easier to digest in some cases. Like, I can marathon dubs a lot easier than I can marathon subs.
Mhm.
My thing is though, and this is coming from someone who has unironically said he loves the One Piece rap opening. The dub can change a lot, and I don't necessarily mean in the sense of for kids, like necessarily, oh hey, let's take out or change this because we're still making this for kids. We don't want it to get too violent or dark or anything along those lines. I mean in the sense of sometimes dubs will add in lines like I don't have a particular example, but maybe they'll add a line about some political thing going on in the U.S. I feel like one anime in particular added the dub added a line. about Donald Trump or something like that. And I can understand why people would prefer the sub, because you don't necessarily want it to be changed up that much, which I can vibe with. On the other hand, though, we got Ghost Stories the dub, and the dub was way better than the sub. Not that either was great, but the dub was just so hilariously over the top. It was kind of perfect.
All right. So your next one?
Yeah, so my next one. I'm kind of going out of order. You brought up the Sakura thing, that kind of made me go out of order, so let's see. All right, I got one. Characters don't necessarily need to age. That is my hot take. Like, you want me to explain before you give me your 2 cents about it?
Go right ahead.
Okay, so my philosophy is I would it on the one hand, it's kind of nice to see characters age and you grow up with them and all this other sorts of stuff. They learn deal with new challenges on along the lines and stuff. On the other hand, though, sometimes that makes things kind of messy, because if you make the same, because like from my personal experience, if you make the same mistakes as like a 16-year-old or a 17-year-old, like that's not enjoyable necessarily, but you can find ways to kind of work around it. Like you're still growing, you're still kind of finding in yourself in puberty and all that sort of stuff. But if I see characters get older and then they start making the same mistakes or potentially even worse mistakes, to me, that is infuriating. I understand as you get older, you're still going to make mistakes. I'm not saying be perfect, but with the amount of risks and changes that we've gotten to characters as they've gotten older, like as the characters themselves have aged up, to me, it just doesn't seem worth it.
Yeah, sometimes when they do those time skips and oh now it's this person, they've got a kid, it's like okay, that's great and all, but I wanted it centered around this. I'm kind of thinking of Boruto. It's like that I really would have preferred a series that was Naruto as the Hokage and it focuses more on his Jonin, so all the Konoha 11 as the top Jonin
Yeah,
now. Or
you could have had a little bit of focus on the younger generation, but but to take the focus seemingly completely off of them just doesn't. I don't know. It just didn't work for me. Not to mention, and like since we talk about this anime a lot, if they actually did age up Ash Ketchum, do you really think it would fix that much? Because I don't. If anything, I feel like that might make it worse.
yeah, I just again with Ash, I just don't know how they would do it well. 'Cause it really makes no sense with to age him up and out of there.
Yeah, not to mention we deal with the whole rigmarole from you, especially being like, wait, then how many days was he in this region for it? It would just be a whole rabbit hole of a mess. But overall, aging characters, it can be done well, but for the most part, I've never enjoyed it. So in my opinion, you don't have to age a character. You can just have a character stay the same age for a good majority of the series.
And I'm fine with like the subtle aging that some animes do. Oh, there's the birthday episode, so is a year older, but they're
That's
still
fine.
in high school. They're not really. There's nothing really changes besides they're a year older. That's fine.
Exactly.
All right. So my next one.
Go for it.
All right. Filler can be a good thing especially when it expands character or gives background to actual story elements.
All right, that was one of my honorable mentions. So I guess we're settling on that.
All right. So um, it allows you to get to know, especially the one I always think about that everybody seems to hate, but I actually really enjoyed was the Bount arc in Bleach. This allowed a large number of the characters that had been bad guys the season before because they're executing Rukia to grow and have connections to the main cast. And you actually develop feelings for the characters, like you care about what happens to them and you get to know them. So it gives them a chance. And then to go into the next arc where they are supporting the main cast and have different battles throughout that, it really helps that you know and care for these characters at this point.
Yeah, I'm gonna be 1,000. Like this wasn't on my list, but it might as well have been. it kind of is why I enjoyed Yu-Gi-Oh! GX more than the original Yu-Gi-Oh! Series. Like when we like in the original series, all everybody was basically friends beforehand. They gained a couple of new ones every now and then, but they all kind of knew each other. Meanwhile, in one of my favorite episodes of Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, the Bastion episode, like you guys know I won't shut up about Bastion, but in all seriousness, as goofy as an episode as it was, seeing what his life is like and everything he does, it was nice to see them just interact with him. Jade and Cyrus becoming friends with him. We get to see what he's good at, like what he's striving for, and it might as well be a filler episode, because they almost never address it again. But to me, that's just sometimes just filler episodes and just learning about characters is just a lot more interesting than just the actual plot itself. Heck, remember got Kakashi Sensei's True Face episode? That's known as one of the best filler episodes in any anime. Not because, and it didn't move any plot along specifically, but it just the characters were more relaxed. Like Sasuke was making an idiot of himself. Oh, the three of them were getting along. It's a hilarious episode that I will go back and rewatch more than episodes focused on the actual plot of the show.
I mean, and another one in Naruto that this one had potential. It's the waking dreams part of with where they're all kind of trapped.
Oh, right.
This could have been really good because it's supposed to be their deepest desires are brought to life in these dreams. It went on too long with like every side character getting a handful of episodes for theirs. If it had been 5 episodes with like mini stories telling here's this world and what they want, and here's Killer Bee's world, and here's Shikamaru, and you get to see him with his dad playing shogi probably is all that, and Asuma coaching them or something.
Yeah, I will say I will always love Gaara's dream because it's not just that he had a happy childhood; it's that he's friends with Naruto and they both have happy childhoods. I'm like, this went on for too long, but I can't hate that. That's so wholesome.
Yeah, and again, that was like just a couple scenes that they didn't even give him that long one, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, Gaara's thinking to himself, oh, I just hope I get to keep my hairstyle. And then he got a new hairstyle in the last, and I'm like, oh, that looks kind of cool. And then Boruto happened, and we're just like, oh dear.
Comb over. He's hiding a bald spot now.
Good God. But that's not a hot take. Everybody hates Gaara's new hair.
Yep.
Yeah, but I agree. I like filler more. Sometimes filler is better than plot episodes. I completely agree with that. It's weird we haven't really disagreed yet, but I have one on my list that I feel like you're going to disagree with, but I don't want to talk.
Okay.
Actually, characters don't need to age. Sakura would have ended up all right, so it'll be after this one. So I should go next?
Go right ahead.
All right. Romance anime and the way it ends doesn't make a whole lot of sense, and it's not all that realistic.
Yeah, I can kind of agree.
And I don't necessarily mean, oh, the guy ends up with the tsundere and the nice girl. Like, no, I've been over that. I want to talk about that anymore. But to me, the fact that even if the person ends up with who I'd want them to end up with, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense that it's like, oh, they get together in high school and we just assume they're together, they get married, have kids, and end like that. Like, I don't know. I find it kind of odd that not a lot of anime, like, I find it almost in a way kind of toxic that not a lot of anime show characters dating, breaking up, dating other people, that sort of thing. Not necessarily as much as like sitcoms do it, because that would get to be a little too much. But like, let me ask you this: if you dated in high school, have you married anybody you dated in high school, Richard?
Not that I'm aware, but I have been drunk before, so I don't really remember those nights.
Good God, no, we don't have to. We don't. I've told you before, we don't have to talk about that night again. Anyway, but in all seriousness, it kind of sends a bad message to me that they just like, and I haven't brought this anime up in a while, so I don't feel bad about it. Nisekoi, they never finished the anime, thankfully, but I'm just gonna spoil the manga. 5, 4, 3, 2. So Raku and Chitoge end up together. Yeah, the bland character ending up with a tsundere, no fucking duh. But the problem is, like, right after they decide, oh, I want to be with you, I want to be with you too, they get married, and later down the line, they have kids. And I'm thinking, wait a minute. So you're telling me that the very first person you ever decided to date, you just ended up with? You know, the fact that that happens so often is ridiculous to me. I know we all want these characters to have happy endings, but it doesn't make a whole lot. It makes no sense, and it doesn't really send that great of a message either.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Um, yeah, I haven't watched very many romance anime, but again, they do seem to have a trope of, oh, once they actually start dating, they're going to end up together, even if like there's another person that's obviously better. They don't even date or anything. They're just okay. You're friend zone now. Bye.
Yeah, and it wouldn't bother me so it would, like, if they ended up together and then that we never even talked about these characters getting married or anything like that. I'd be like, you know what, fine, whatever, that's cool. But just like like I talked about with the age time skip, it's just like, oh nope, they're married and they're happily together. I'm like, oh well, seems like they had a pretty easy last couple years. Kind of glad we skipped that because seeing all that would have been boring. But still, it's just it's frustrating to me.
Yep, I can agree with that. So I think we have one more each before honorable mentions, correct?
That is correct.
All right. So I have a feeling you might disagree with this, but
Oh no.
this one is sticking to a formula does not necessarily mean that the anime is bad. I'm thinking like
Hmm. Hmm.
I'm thinking like the overpowered isekai protagonist. That's quite a common thing. But every so you can still make a good story if the characters are fun and they have slightly different adventures. You can stick with the formula of the protagonist being overpowered. I've really enjoyed Spirit Chronicles, this new isekai that's come out. And I mean, protagonist is overpowered. I'm trying to think. There's other tropes. The pervy best friend in a lot of what are they called? Slice of life animes. They can still be fun and that a good part of the story. Not always. Again, this is relevant, but I know some people say if it's not completely different from everything else, it's bad. So when you have a formula and you stick to it and it works, it can work really well.
Gee, that you know, I feel like I said the same sort of thing when Black Clover first started airing, and everyone's like, "No, no, no, it's doing the same thing as everything else does." I'm like, guys, we're like 3 or 4 episodes in, man, what's the deal? But like I said before, I agree and disagree with this because I do kind of feel like shows can get really, really stale from it. Like, just like let me put it to you this way: if as long as I feel like the writers have an idea of what they're doing with this, then I can live with it. But if I feel like they're just filling time, not necessarily filler, but just kind of like, hey, we don't have any ideas right now, so let's just keep doing this until somebody calls us out for it. That's when I kind of have an issue with it.
All right, but you brought up Black Clover. If you think about it, all shonen pretty much follow the exact same formula. They all have a relatively weak starting protagonist who slowly develops into being the strongest or the best at whatever they're doing throughout the entire series. So, and they can even change it up because technically, if I remember correctly, Food Wars is a shonen anime just because they of how they film it or how
I
they,
guess in a sense I can't argue with that.
so but he grows throughout the series. Again, he's already good, but he becomes great throughout the series. So it's, but it follows kind of the same process of getting stronger and battles and that sort of thing. So,
Yeah, I guess I can understand that in a sense.
all
And
right,
so, like I said, I agree and disagree with that. And I have a feeling you're not going to be happy with what I have to say for this.
go right
So,
ahead.
should I just move on?
Yep.
All right. This is a Pokemon specific one. Trip is not a bad rival.
Again, I've only seen the first few episodes of Black and White, so I just living
Okay.
through that.
Okay. All right. Let me. I misspoke when I said that. Let me rephrase that. Trip is not a knockoff Paul. They are two very, very different characters. Paul is a character who was super arrogant and only saw strength as something he wanted. So he pushed his Pokemon really hard, and that was at times kind of abusive to them, which I want to which if we ever get to the best and worst parts of each Pokemon series, I kind of want to have a discussion about Paul because some things about that kind of got weird. But Trip is a little different. Trip does see power as something he wants, like Paul, but he's not abusive to his Pokemon or even other people. If anything, it seems like it's less I'm angry at the world, kind of like Paul is, and Trip's kind of just like, I mean, you're not bad people per se. I just don't really want to hang out with you because I'm trying to better my goal. Nothing personal. Not to mention, Paul saw Ash's Pokemon like, your Pokemon are weak. You should be catching stronger ones rather than just catching weak ones and training them the best they can. While Trip was more along the lines of, your Pokemon are really good. It's not the Pokemon that's the problem. It's you. You're the issue here. And he has this whole arc of at first idolizing the champion Alder, and then after seeing what Alder's like as he's older, he's like, you know what? I'm gonna be my own person. I'm not gonna look up to him anymore. And then finally mellowing out towards the end. He's still not necessarily friends with everybody, which I kind of like. He still kind of keeps to himself, but overall, he has a pretty decent arc. He's still not my favorite rival, but just calling him a bootleg Paul is ridiculous. I can't stand that argument.
Okay, I mean, I'll have to co-sign on to this. Again, I've only seen hit like 2 episodes of Black and White that he was actually in. So of those first 2, he's just like you have to admit at the very start, he's just a watered down Paul at the very first 2, but then again, I haven't had a chance to see his character grow because I haven't watched the series.
I mean, in a sense, but to me, the only reason people really compare it to Paul is because it's like, oh, well, he's not very nice to Ash. To be fair, there are a lot of characters who aren't that nice to Ash. Frankly, I might be one of them. I might just be like, no, I want to hang out. What's up? What's up? Brock, Serena, May, Clement, what's up, y'all? Oh, Ash, no, go away. This is our group now. I'm taking over this group.
All right. Again, I'll just co-sign onto it. I really don't have anything on that.
You're gonna have to give Black and White more of a chance at some point. I'm not saying this as I'm gonna hold you down to do it. I'm just like you're gonna have to at some point.
As long as you edit out the opening, I'll be fine. I'll watch it after you finish that.
That's perfectly fine with me.
All right. So honorable mentions, and I actually recounted. I actually do have 2.
That's perfectly fine. Like I said, you knocked out my other one, so let's go.
All right. So my first honorable mention is that CG anime and CG in anime can be good.
Tentatively agree.
All right. I specifically, of an anime that I watched that was pretty much fully CGI was Tiger and Bunny. It's pretty much a superhero show where they're sponsored, but all the characters are 3D rendered CG. The battles all are CG. That one I think looks good. And when you mix CG with the 2D animation, it can be really helpful when you have to draw an army and you want to give detail, but you don't have time to animate 100 hand-drawn or 1,000,000 hand-drawn little people marching through an area or something. It can give you that chance to show there where normally you would only be able to draw 100 or 200 images, and that would be it.
Yeah, I agree with this to an extent. My only issue is like this is gonna sound so odd, but my thing is as long as it's not like super different, because like I've seen like there are times when I'm like I talked about this last time, Dragon Quest: The Adventure of Dai, where I look at the CG of it and I'm like, this is really solid. Like the characters moving and talking, just hanging out. But then when certain battle scenes come and you can like really tell the CG is happening, and like it feels stiff. It feels kind of weird. So, and like I guess another one for me is I don't care about animation all that much. A show can be great to me as long as the show just has to be good. I don't care about the animation. But to me, it does get a little distracting sometimes. So I wouldn't say it ruins shows for me, CG. It can get distracting sometimes if it's too obvious. Like, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, and again, this isn't in everything. I'm mentioning it because I know a lot of people say if it has any CGI, it's a bad show. There are
Oh,
people who
okay.
say that, and it's like, no, that doesn't mean that. It gives them a chance to give more detail than what they would necessarily be able to draw.
Exactly. Exactly. So, should I start my first one?
Go right ahead.
I can't get into One Punch Man. I'm sorry. And a lot of people say, "Oh, well, what the first season's the best, but season two we're gonna drop." No, no. I'm sorry. Season one, I can't get into season one of One Punch Man. I don't really like the gimmick, the characters. Some of the characters are kind of cool, but overall, it's just not. It's not for me. I can't get into it. I'm sorry.
I can agree, and I actually this kind of ties into my second honorable mention that I wanted to
Oh,
bring
good.
up.
Oh, good lord. What is it?
So it's that animes can be good, but it's the fan bases and the haters that ruin anime.
Yeah, it's ironic that you're saying that because you're a My Hero Academia fan, and that's like the number one reason why I haven't given it a chance yet. Because certain parts of the fan base are super toxic. Of course, I know you, and there are several other people who enjoy the show, who accept criticism, who welcome people with open arms, and are perfectly fine if they don't get into it. And I
Mhm.
respect, and I love that about you guys. I love that about this community in particular. How it's not toxic, but there are a lot of people who just ruin it for everybody else.
Yeah, but again, going back to One Punch Man, I felt that it was one of those that was kind of forced down my throat by the fan base. They're like, "Oh my god, it's so good! You have to watch it, watch it, watch it, watch it. You'll love it, you'll love it." And the first few episodes are like, "Okay, this is okay," and then, but then there are others that, like, again, I enjoy Fairy Tale, but I know that there are a ton of people who rag on Fairy
I
Tale.
was about to say it works the other way around too, because you'll start watching because someone will be like, "Hey, don't watch it. Like this character sucks, or this show sucks," and then you'll watch it and be like, "That wasn't so bad. I mean, wasn't perfect, but I
Mhm.
enjoyed it." And I'm not even doing this on purpose or doing it to be quote unquote cool. Y'all know I'm not cool in the slightest. But and it bothers me. Like we talked about with Pokemon Sun and Moon, everybody was hating on the art style, and we're all like, and you and I were like, I mean, it's not our favorite, but like we'll get used to it eventually. That's not why the series. If we don't like this upcoming series, it's gonna have nothing to do with the art style.
Yeah, and so again, it's when both sides, the both extremes are the real issues with like 90% of the anime. There are bad animes, but when it comes to the popular ones, or even some of the smaller shows, you're the people who ruin it are the people who are extreme. Oh my god, you'll love everything about this show. It's amazing. It's got the best art style. It's got the best story. And the people who are like, oh, there's nothing good in this. Don't watch it whatsoever. And
Exactly.
and spoil things to explain why it's bad. It's like, I was gonna watch this anyway. I don't care what you
Yeah,
think.
yeah. My philosophy is people just hear their favorite YouTubers talking about something like, oh, I have to latch onto this because my favorite YouTuber said that. Don't do that with YouTubers. Do that with us, but nobody else. We're the only ones guys should would be completely obedient towards. Oh god, we're gonna create monsters out of this.
I mean, just so y'all are aware, you do remember that we've been sarcastic about everything, and our old exit was, if you disagree, you're wrong.
Yeah, in all honesty, that's completely sarcastic. Like, you disagree with us, fine, we don't care. As long as you're cool about it, I don't really care.
Exactly.
Yeah, your favorite character from Naruto could be the ramen guy's daughter, and I'd be like, you know what, that's completely fine. It's a little weird, but sure, but hey, you do you.
Yep. All right. So your last honorable mention?
Yeah, I have one last honorable mention. You've heard me talk about the show Love, Chunibyo, and Other Delusions, right?
Yes.
Yes, so I've talked about before. Season one was pretty damn good, pretty solid. Season two sucked. Everybody universally hates season two, and everybody hates season two because of this girl named Shimia. And I gotta say, she's the best part about season two, and it's really not even all that close. She,
Okay, I can. You'll have to.
let me explain. She's pretty much the only person with a consistent story from beginning to end. She had a crush on Yuta at one point before he moved away, and when she let me put it to you this way. They were both Chunibyo, and I've talked about Chunibyo, the characters acting like they have mystical powers and all that jazz, when in reality they're just normal characters, for any of
Mhm.
you who didn't know. Oh, and when she realizes that he's dating Yuta, that Yuta is dating Rika, she kind of, it takes her a minute to process with her. Like, she still kind of hugs him and gets close to him and all this other sorts of stuff. And she's kind of like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm just not really used to it. And there's a horrible field trip episode. I kind of wish I had included those episodes on my worst anime episodes because they're just terrible. They're so bad. But regardless, the thing about her is, as the season progresses, she slowly starts to realize they really are together. To be fair, their relationship does nothing to progress in season two. It's faces no development whatsoever, and she kind of realizes, holy crap, I can't keep forcing myself onto him because he's gonna hate me, and I'm never gonna get to hang out with these people who have more or less become my friends. And she breaks down one episode just because she just simply can't handle it anymore. Of course, it's a happy ending and everything, but like I said, she's the one character in this whole season, and to have a story arc from episode 1 to, well, maybe not episode 12, but around episode 9 or 10, and nobody else has anything. So why does this character get like completely crapped on when she's the only person doing anything? I felt like she's the one who said, "Hey guys, these scripts have nothing. I'm gonna add my own character arc, so I'm gonna do that. Good night and peace, easy." And she's, I don't know. Well, like, it's weird. I don't know. Like, I know you don't have a whole lot to add on to that, but it's frustrating to me.
Yeah, I mean, again, I've never seen the show, so I have no
Yeah,
idea.
I feel like you might like it, but I don't know. That might actually gives me an idea for another video we could do.
Okay.
And just this is a I realized one little argument I had for when you said dubs over subs.
Okay, so
Yeah, one, it's just, I'm going to be quick about it, and I'm going to be quick about it. Let's just say, I do understand though why people do prefer subs, especially nowadays, because with Twitter and just a whole lot of other stuff in internet and the internet, and just, let's just say there's a lot of voice actors out there who have been revealed to be scummy people, especially over here in the West. So I can certainly understand why people would want to go with sub versions, because they're seemingly a lot better about it that over there in Japan than over here in America.
okay. All right, so on to our final ones.
All right, go for it.
All right, so the power of love and friendship can be good.
Oh, this should be good. This should be good.
And I don't mean when the power of love and friendship is the power that they have. I mean when the character grows stronger because of the love and friendship that they have for other people. When especially when it's like I've got to protect them so they get a power boost. It's I mean when you think about it, that's technically what Super Saiyan is when it's uh Goku's friendship with Krillin is what causes him to go Super Saiyan. It's when it leads to a power up and it makes sense that okay, I've got to protect at this point Goku's it's his son or and they surpass their limits because of it. That's why I think it can be good. But then I know a lot of people hate this.
Let me put Zatch Bell, Persona 5, Blue Dragon, and Black Clover. Those are four shows that when they gain new powers, it's not necessarily, oh, I've been training a lot, so I gained this new power. Like, remember in that one episode of Zatch Bell when Contra and Fulgore were fighting someone, they realized, we can be clever, but we're really weak, and we want to protect the people around us. There's a war coming up, and we have to be ready. And then they gain a new spell from it. It's basically when their powers are tapping into that mindset of protecting somebody, getting better, and then they gain a new spell where Contra grows like 50 feet tall. It's kind of bizarre, but still, no, just I can't agree with that. Now, of course, there are moments where it gets completely ridiculous and it just doesn't make any sense. And I feel like Naruto is a pretty big one of it, pretty big one at that. But still, I can co-sign on that. I can't agree with that.
Yeah, and as I said, when I've got the friendship punch and it's super powerful, that kind of thing where friendship is the power itself makes no sense. But when the power up comes from the need to protect and the need to grow stronger for someone else, I love that part of anime. That's a
Yeah,
big thing I like.
even Dragon Ball, like what's weird because Dragon Ball both does it well and does it horribly. Because I can understand the spirit bomb because you're literally giving your energy to somebody to help them. But then there are just other moments where it just gets ridiculous.
All right. Hey,
All right,
your
what's
last
up?
one?
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
no,
my last one. Okay, cool. I like characters more than story.
okay, explain.
Okay, so like my philosophy is I do like some semblance of story, but the kind of the problem is I've kind of been spoiled lately because a lot of anime has a lot of well developed, up high functioning, just multi-dimensional characters that work like it's like Kakashi and it's like Kakashi, Gintoki, and there's so many others. But to me, if somebody were to ask me, hey, which would you rather have? Would you rather have an anime with a great story or an anime with a great set of characters? Obviously, I'd like both, but if I had to pick between one or the other, I'd say characters because the characters are the ones going through this stuff. The characters are the ones who can make you cry through this, who can make you laugh through this, all this other sorts of stuff. Gintama has episodes where they're trying to boil water for their noodles, which is a stupid premise, but they still find ways of making it hilarious because of the characters. Meanwhile, there could be life or death situations in other anime like Attack on Titan or something like that. But if I don't care about who's involved rather than just the story itself, I'm not going to care. Like, the story could be amazing, but if the characters don't get me invested, I don't care.
Okay, I can agree. Um, for the most part, again, I struggle with the animes. The one that comes to mind is the one we started watching. I think our senior year, but we never got a chance to finish. Where it's the perfect guy. The characters.
I was about to say, don't you dare say something bad about haven't you heard him Sakamoto? I will reach through this screen and you son of just go ahead.
I mean, the characters are enjoyable. I really enjoyed the I guess the bully characters that.
Yeah, they were pretty solid.
But again, without a story, it's one of those I could watch an episode and then not watch one for 6 months and then go back and watch an episode again. It's not something that I would sit down and watch every episode together.
I mean, as coming from somebody who has finished the whole series, there is an underlying story to it. Like, it's not even necessarily a spoiler. It's more or less that Sakamoto is making everybody better at their jobs. Like, the teachers are getting nicer and helping their students more with work. Or the bully students are becoming nicer people. The shy characters are learning to stand up for themselves and be better people. That's kind of the story. Or either that or I'm just completely pulling it out of my ass. But like, to me, it felt like there was kind of a story going into it. That's just me, though. But like I said, this is one of those if it was one or the other. Obviously, I'd love both. But like I said, characters over story for me. And like I said, it's a hot take. Everybody is not supposed to agree with this.
Yeah, again, that's pretty much I think with every single one of these is what we were trying to get to. So
yeah, I feel like the Sakura uses one. People are going to have heart attacks over it because people are going to be like, but she. I'm like, yeah, I know, but like, she's not useless. She's just annoying.
All right. Any final thoughts on anything before we wrap up?
Let's see. I plugged our subscribers. I plugged the shirts. No, we're pretty much set. So, ladies, gentlemen, and others, what are your anime hot takes? Don't necessarily worry about if it's something that's been said before. Just something you feel like it has to be an opinion that you don't think is very popular. Or don't just say things like, "Oh, Itachi's the best Naruto character." That's a pretty popular opinion. You don't have to. That's not unpopular. But just hot takes, unpopular opinions. Don't worry, we're not going to bite your heads off or anything. If you say something, maybe your unpopular opinion is that we are the best anime YouTube channel, which I would respect. You need help, but hey, we appreciate the love and support.
Exactly. But yeah, leave them down in the comments. And please be nice if you don't agree with something. Just explain what your thoughts are. Don't just complain that they think differently than you.
Yeah, exactly. No fighting in the comments section. If you guys are gonna fight, we have to sell tickets, and we can't do that in the comment section. Maybe we'll talk about getting a Hell in a Cell, and we can go from there.
All right.
Yeah, but anyways, like, subscribe, comment. We appreciate all the support. We love you guys. Take it easy. This has been Alex.
And Richard.
And you've been listening to the Anime Egotists. Good night, and peace easy.